I want John to rate my tennis.
Okay, so Djokovic is like a 16, like legendary level. Zane, dude, that's like a 4. I mean, that was some really bad stuff. Like, certainly were low lights. I mean, it started off with the shank off of a fed ball. That was a crazy, crazy time. And of course, I was not thinking about joining one way or the other because I'm not good enough. Just wasn't an interest of mine. I was focused on the tournament. But seeing like Jack and Sam and DY be a part of that, I thought it was like it brought me into the circle a little bit. And I was very much like enjoying seeing it all going down. It was just a wild, wild time. It almost didn't seem real.
For sure. If you would have told me that a year later I'd be sitting at the podcast wearing a PPA shirt, I would have said, you're smoking meth.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so Proton pulled a fast one on me. They invited us and a bunch of other creators out to their headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. I played with the Proton that day. That was maybe like 2 months ago, and I have not stopped playing with it since. So I've obviously tried a ton of paddles. The Proton, to me, it's just different. They say a lot about the durability, the fact that like Andre Deescu was using it for like 3 months in a row, which is unheard of, especially for pros who are changing their paddles like every day. But you just don't have to replace these things. The longevity, the grit, the structure of the paddle, it just holds up. They have crazy pop, insane control. So Proton seems to be one of those brands that came out of nowhere in the past year, and now they're one of the most popular paddles, selling out constantly. I just mentioned that Andre Deescu plays with them, but Caitlin Christian, Donald Young, Travis Rettenmeyer, CJ Klinger, the list goes on. All these pros are dominating the courts with paddles that leverage carbon fiber technology from baseball bats for exceptional sound and spin. Following the quick sellout of their Series 1, Proton's Series 2 paddles are now on the scene, claimed to be the softest on the market, providing top-notch control and great feel, winning a lot of medals at PPA events at the 3.0 and 4.0 level. Find Proton paddles exclusively through Pickleball Central. Use our code PRO-THEDINK to save $25 on your Proton paddle from pickleballcentral.com. That's all caps PRO-THEDINK for $25 off.
Of stuff to talk about when it comes to the serve today. So
Great.
We couldn't have a better. I don't think we could have had a better.
Are they really trying to change the rules?
Oh yeah, I actually get the sense that it.
They've already changed the rules because of you.
Yeah. Yeah, they were calling me the Isner of pickleball.
That's so funny. Oh man, I need to know what they're proposing because I don't really know. I'm a little out of the loop.
Let's use that as a start. Let's brief John. Zane, give him the scoop.
So basically, PPA has been tinkering around with serve rules all year. They had the release from the waist rule.
I know that.
Yeah, that was in effect through the entire season up through singles day of Kansas City. So about a week and a half ago, they reverted back to USA Pickleball rules, which means you can toss the ball up as high as you want, as long as you make contact below the level of the waist. The paddle head is below the level of the wrist, and you're swinging in an upwards motion.
Yep.
They don't think that rule is enforceable. And I think that's accurate. That rule isn't really enforceable. So now they're trying to figure out other ways to de-weaponize the serve. And the most recent proposal or thing that's been going viral on the internet has been putting a line 4 feet inside the court and essentially creating a service box. If the ball goes past that line, it would be considered to be out.
Wow. It's so funny. Like it does seem a little bit ridiculous, but like I would like that because when people serve and it hits the baseline, I never am able to return it. But I mean, that's a little extreme. Is that going to be passed, do you think?
I actually get the sense that a majority of pro players are probably on board with it.
Okay.
It's hard to say whether it'll be passed.
Yeah.
I don't know where that decision actually like ends up. I think a majority of pro players are for it for the same reason that if there was an opportunity to make you serve underhand in tennis, I think
Yeah.
I think people
Because
would.
yeah, I mean it's half the game, right? And if you got a massive serve, well, someone that comes to mind is, as you guys know, is Blaine Hovener, who's got like a
Mhm,
killer serve that would crush him because like his serve is massive. So
mhm.
I play with him sometimes in Dallas and can't handle that. But I mean maybe that would be like more of that rule would be more effective in singles, obviously, because you want to. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off because you obviously want to get to the net immediately after singles, but sometimes you see points where guys hit a massive serve and you're not able to get to the net off of that return in singles.
Yeah, but then my question is, right? Like, is it a right of the returner to be able to get to the net?
Yeah, I
Right?
know.
Maybe
It's a good
these
point.
serves are just so good that you're better off staying back, right? Just
Yeah,
because the meta has always been you have to serve or you return and come in and you return and come in doubles. If somebody hits a good enough serve on the baseline, maybe you just have to concede the net to them.
yeah. Concede the net and try to win the point that way. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm
So
with you there. I mean, I am with you as a big server myself. You don't want to take the big servers out of the pickleball game. So
Did you had a big serve in tennis?
just a little bit. I don't have a big serve in pickleball. That's for sure. So anything
Yeah,
that's
that's by
below
design.
the below the waist deal doesn't work for me.
your waist is a lot higher than mine, though, dude.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I still can get a little better angle than you, Zane, but it's still my serve's lacking. I need to get in the lab a little more and work on it.
There you go. So John are you the second all-time ace leader in tennis? Are you behind
No, dude, come on. I'm number one.
You're number 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I
I,
didn't know if you had surpassed
I
Karlovic.
don't give a crap. Yeah, no. I'm number one though. No, I beat him. I passed him in. It wasn't last year's year. It was 2022. I got that record.
Okay. So yeah, Thomas, he has the best serve of all time in tennis.
Yeah, and fastest ever recorded on the ATP
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah. Well, I did it in Davis Cup, so it was like an ITF event. But yeah, I mean, it's still regarded as the I hit 156 or 157 or something like that. I can't remember. It was 259 kilometers, and yeah, that was.
I
It didn't
assume that
really
was
feel
an
that big, to be honest with you, but like I had a lot of adrenaline. I think I was like close to winning the match type of thing, and I didn't
ace.
even know. I heard the crowd start to kind of ooh and ah, and I didn't know what the heck they were talking about. I just hit another ace. I hit like 14,500 of them, so I didn't know, but turns out I set a world record.
So I thought Sam Groth had a 160, but it was kind
Yeah,
of in a weird spot. Like
yeah,
people thought it was 160 for a while, and I
yeah,
remember, like, sure, it's a harder serve than I could ever hit,
yeah.
but it didn't look. Was that one basically sort of
Well,
discredited at one point, or
well, it's kind of discredited because it happened in a challenger
okay?
in I believe Korea. And so it's kind of like you don't challenger matches don't count for your ATP record. You know what I mean? Like, it's like your ATP head to head or something. If you play someone in challenger, it doesn't really count towards that. So because of that, yes, he did log a like 160 or 161 mile an hour serve, but because it happened in challenger, it's not null and void, but they don't really count it because they just use it, they're using ATP stats.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
So yeah, Thomas is gone, but we answered his question. You are the best server of all time with the fastest recorded ATP serve. So there you go, Thomas, who's off
I
doing
appreciate that.
technical stuff. So when did he first start playing pickleball? And we won't go into a ton of depth on all that stuff, but just how long have you been playing for?
Yeah, so never played prior to moving to Dallas, where I live now. I must have picked it up about 3 or 4 years ago. There's a big community here in Dallas. There's a lot of people
Mhm.
that play pickleball. There's one spot in particular that we all meet up at and play. And I just kind of initially didn't get the hang of it, but after like two or three times playing, if you have any racket sports history behind you, it kind of comes pretty naturally. Yeah, and I liked it right away. I mean, of course, I'm always going to be partial to tennis. It's the king of the racket sports for sure in my mind. But pickleball has its spot, has its place, and I really enjoy playing. I don't do the singles deal. That's too much for me. But doubles, like when you get locked in a good doubles match, like it's really, really awesome. It's hard to beat that. Like a good does the level's even and you're playing 3 out of 5. Like it's awesome. The trash talk's amazing. Like really enjoy that aspect of pickleball. It's a great community, and I'm a little part of it now.
For sure. I mean, trash talk. You've got a couple of the best over there in Dallas with you. Sometimes you got Frenchie and you
Mm-hmm.
got Wyatt Stone, and when you get
Yeah,
those two together, that's
yeah.
the
Wyatt, my
pickleball level
partner.
goes way down, but the trash talk level goes way up.
Yeah, French doesn't know how to shut up, and I wish I could shut him up, but I with my play, but I can't because he's so much better than I am. But he's just so obnoxious on the court. But I love the guy. He's a good dude. He's just obnoxious on the court.
Yeah, for sure. That's what we love them for.
Yeah,
But you
exactly.
mentioned that you love like the feeling of being locked in on the pickleball court. Like obviously we know there's so many differences between tennis and pickleball, but like how would you describe how it feels to play like with a difference of feel? Like is it a different sort of locked in? Is that something that's
Yeah. Yeah,
different?
it's a different sort of locked in. I don't really feel like you can't really overwhelm, at least in my mind, maybe because I don't have the skill, you can't really overwhelm opponents in pickleball as much because you can't dominate with one particular shot. Like in my case in tennis, of course, it started with my serve. I think in pickle, it's for me, it's more using deftness around the court and touch and feel, movement. I think the what people don't realize, especially in the singles game, the movement is paramount. I mean, you got to be a great mover to, even though the court's, yes, it's much smaller, but you guys on the pro tour are incredible athletes. Watching the highlights, you guys, especially on the singles court, is really, really fun to watch. But look, you can't, as I was saying, you can't really dominate with one shot. So you got to use a lot of skill and tactics, and obviously you want to get into the net as quick as you can. And then when you get it, when you're serving, you can get it back to neutral. That's the whole point of the game. And then trying to outsmart and outwit your opponents from there. When to take a ball out of the air. There's a lot of strategy involved, and it's something that comes with a lot of practice. It's very, very nuanced. But the more you work at it, of course, the better you're going to be. Better you're going to be. Excuse me.
For sure. Yeah. So you started playing 3 or 4 years ago, like, and at that point, 3 or 4 years ago, what were all of you guys, you, Query, Donald Young, Jeannie, who else I'm forgetting? Jack,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Were you guys like 3, 4 years ago, 2020, when the pro PPA sort of came out?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts when you see that pro pickleball is a thing?
I truthfully it's always been a thing, right? But then like there was a push to make the PPA tour a lot bigger, and there's a lot more players coming along. Like I didn't really, to be honest with you, buy into the concept of
Yeah,
pro
yeah. You
pickleball.
could just you can tell us what
No,
you.
totally. I didn't at
Uh,
all. I thought this isn't something that could last. Obviously, I understand the appeal recreationally. It's not something that I totally underestimated the appeal of pro pickleball, and it's grown so much since then. So I'm happy to say I was wrong. I think myself, we were all still playing tennis at the time, and like I would have laughed in Sam's face if he was like, if he would have told me he was good. He had thoughts about going professional pickleball. Like I knew we would play together here and there, and we were like pretty good against the like local hacks. Uh, but like I had then when Sam's tennis career started to wind down, like he was actually going to take pickleball serious, and I thought he was joking at first. Sure enough, he wasn't. And at that stage, I realized, look, this is real. There's decent money in the game, and the guys out there and playing the pro tour, this is how they're making a living, and I really, really respect that. And they're going out there and they're grinding and they're promoting themselves and they're competing on the court. It's really hard work what the guys and girls do on the pickleball tour, and it's what I really, really respect. And Sam was the first guy to make the jump from professional tennis to pickleball, but I think Jack, we would say, has made the biggest splash. Probably the best player right now. That is fully come over from pro tennis to pro pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So Sam tells you, "Hey, I'm going to go try this
Yeah.
pro pickleball thing." I imagine there was some maybe at least a smirk. But do
I
you
thought
think
I thought he was joking. Like I legitimately
Right.
like thought
Okay.
like
Yeah.
you're full of shit, dude. Like no, like what? Like actually? And he said, no, I'm trying to get a contract. I'm like, what?
So did you overestimate or underestimate his success in Major League Pickleball and on tour? When you heard him say he was going to go for it, where would you have guessed he'd be?
Overestimate. I probably overestimated it. I thought maybe his level would be. Look, he's very good at pickleball, but like there are levels, right? Like Sam's probably better than I am, but at the same time, like I'm not trying to go pro at pickleball. So like he's doing it and he's getting beat up week in and week out. He's sort of became a punching bag on the pro pickleball tour, but he takes it in stride, which is great. He always tells me he gets really bad draws. He's just a victim of circumstance.
Yes, of
So
course, of course.
you know what? Like he's underachieved, or maybe he's just achieved like actually what his level is, which is really not that good. But maybe a 39-year-old coming off an Achilles tear. Maybe he can do some big things after that. His stock's very, very low right now. That's for sure. I might be buying a little query stock. And
Yeah, right. You're buying. That's good.
yeah, I'm buying the
Good for
30,
buying.
38, 39-year-old coming off a serious injury, So we'll see what he can do. He's committed to playing it out. That's for sure.
This is lots of clips for your Nothing Major podcast, which I'm super
Yeah.
pumped about.
Yeah,
Lots
we're
of-
like we're in the podcast world now. It's mostly tennis, but there's a little bit of making fun of Sam on the pickleball court as well. I think
Yeah.
that was one of our first episodes, and Sam's great. He takes it in stride. He doesn't take things too seriously, which is what makes it it's fun to make fun of him about because he can laugh at it.
Yeah, he brought plenty of on himself in pickleball too, and he seems to be like
Totally,
leaning into it.
but like he sold people like false bill of goods initially, and some teams bought it, the number one pick in the challenger draft and all this stuff, sending in sizzle reels of his highlights. And
Yeah.
he has a big name coming from tennis, but I also think he's a little bit too tall to be good at pickleball. For me, it's like you can't be taller than 6'5", and he is. And I'm way taller than that. And it's just being a super tall dude is not conducive to playing high level pickleball, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That was one of the things on our agenda. As a short king, I'm convinced that that being tall is an advantage, but I do think there's diminishing returns at a certain point, right? So you seem to think, what is Sam? 6'7", 6'8"?
He's 6'6".
6'6"?
Yeah, so
Okay,
he's
you're
right borderline.
6'10", right?
Yeah.
6'10". Like, you think Sam is a little too tall? You think you're definitely too tall?
I think so. For me, it's 6'5". I think the being behind the kitchen line and bending is tough on the back. The movement, the side to side movement, and when you're in a dink battle and stuff. But I think most importantly, or the biggest prohibitor of playing good pickleball for a tall guy is those speed ups. When you have long arms, it's hard to get out of the way, and
Right.
you're in close contact, kitchen to kitchen. That's where the good players just wreck me all day long. They'll speed it up on me, and I have a hard time getting out of the way because my arms are so long. The dinking is okay; I can do it, hang in there decently, but the speed ups are very, very tough for the big guys, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's primarily like getting down for some of those dinks, bending over at the kitchen, and then getting out of the way of
Yeah,
speed-ups.
yeah, like the dink battles. If I'm playing against someone good, like I have no confidence in that dink battle. I think eventually they're going to dink one too low, and I'm going to leave one hanging because I'm not bending the right way. I'm not getting to the ball like a shorter guy could. But I think most importantly, it's those hands battles that are tough for me to get out of the way. Even if when I try to start one and they redirect it back to me, like I'm cooked. Like it's just hard having such long arms. It's just so much going on. It's just hard to get out of the way.
True. Yeah, I'd say that the guy who makes it work the best with the fastest hands as a big guy is Deckel. And what is he, like 6'3", maybe 6'4"?
Yeah, he's more like big, like kind of strong, big, like kind of heavier set big. He's not like fat, right? But like what I'm saying, he's not like super tall. but right, like I mean, I think he's a good size and shape for pickleball. He's like a strong dude, pretty tall, not like crazy tall like myself, and so he makes it work.
Yeah, I just wonder, if the increased reach outweighs the
Yeah.
potentially slower hands to cover the body, right? Because if I'm playing against some of the people who use their height the best,
Mm-hmm.
like Deckel, or somebody like Jeff Warnick, who you might not know, some of these very tall guys,
Yeah.
you can reach in so well to flick the ball. And then if I'm trying to keep it away from you and make it bounce, it's such a dead dink with nothing on it that
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
it's tough to. I mean, you're never going to miss it as a result of it.
Yeah, like that's the one I guess advantage that tall guys do have is like you play enough, get comfortable enough of taking that balls out of the air that like your opponents would not expect you to do. So when I'm playing recreational pickleball in Dallas and playing my best, that's what I'm doing. I'm right behind the kitchen line, of course, and taking balls out of the air that players are not going to expect because I mean I have a good 8-10 more inches of reach than most people.
For sure. So what would you say? What would you think is the ideal height for a pickleball player? If you're just creating one from scratch, like
Yeah.
FIFA create a player, like what are you doing?
I'm going like like 6'2", someone that can still move around the court very, very well. It's got some good reach. Maybe like 6'2" with like a 6'4" wingspan, if I'm gonna
Okay.
like create the perfect pickleball player. I think that's a good height for tennis as well. So I think they kind of like pretty similar there.
Interesting. Yeah, gotcha. We can always point to like the athletic freaks, right? Like a Daniil Medvedev type of
Totally.
player, right?
Yeah,
Like
well, he's a little bit of an outlier because he's like every bit of 6'6", but like an
right,
incredible mover and like these like some of those guys. But yeah, those are absolute freaks, right? They could, where most guys 6'6", 6'7", yes, they move very well for their size, but he moves like exceptionally well, like so well, like you haven't seen it before.
right.
Someone at that height, and the game of tennis is certainly it's changed a lot. Where you got to be a top mover if you want to be top 10 in the world.
For sure. Well, my personal theory on where pickleball is headed is I think we're going to see less of the middle height type of guys. Like I guess I probably wouldn't even really put myself in middle height. I'm more of the short
Mm-hmm.
guy, but like I think we're going to have small guys and big guys, and the middle is going to be kind of gone because the middle is just doesn't do anything special. I
Mm-hmm.
think small guys are just going to try and hit the big guys, and
Mm-hmm.
big guys are going to be in there
You know,
reaching.
there hasn't really been much of a conversation around height and how it impacts right side versus left side, like, and what the optimal like collective height would be. Like, should there be left side player 6'5",
Mm-hmm.
right side player is some short, quick handed guy who just plays his 30% of the court or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and we learned that that's like the optimal strategy.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really.
I've never heard anybody
It,
talk
it
about
it could be. Yeah, I mean, look, like I would love to see someone, maybe it's Sam Querrey after he recovers from surgery. Maybe he'd love to see like a 6'7", 6'8" guy like do really well in pickleball. I just think it's really challenging. I don't care singles, doubles, mixed doubles, whatever it is. I find it very, very difficult if you want to compete with the best guys when you got a lot going on, especially with your wingspan.
Mhm.
So it makes it hard.
So, John, I gotta apologize. I didn't think much of your pickleball game, so I looked you up on DUPR. I'd never seen you play,
Do I
and
have a duper?
yeah, man, you
Oh,
are.
dude, I didn't
Yeah.
even know that.
So we'll do guess my duper later, but
Okay.
what's your duper right now? Like, what do you think you'd be?
Um. Oh man, I need some context here. Like Zane, what are y'all like? What are you guys like? I need a I
Oh,
need.
you don't even know what's good or what's bad.
No, I do. Like I've seen it before. Like maybe I'm confused a duper with like there's like the UTR in
Yeah.
tennis. Like a good UTR is like 15. Those are like the top. The pros are like 15 to 16.
Right. So your top pro in men's doubles, I think, is it's Ben. I think he's right around a 7 or slightly above a 7.
Okay.
Most of the male pros are probably like 6'6" to 6'8".
Okay.
Um,
If Ben's a 7, then like I'm a 3'5", and I think I'm like being generous. He's definitely double as good as I am.
All right, so you are a 5'2", 7'6", which is pretty good.
Wow. What's Sam Querrey?
ooh,
Good question. He's
I'm
probably
guessing
like
the
a
DUPR
6.
6.4.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
it's
probably like
way overrated.
let's see.
Okay,
Did
5'2", I'd take that.
Yeah,
There's 2 Sam queries.
there's 2
Agora
Sam
Hales.
queries.
He's 6'2", 1'8".
6'2", 1'8".
Okay.
Okay.
I can
Hey,
close that gap on him.
I wanna kind of go back to the beginning of this year, or actually even last year, where we had Tour Wars, right? We're basically
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
year out,
Yeah.
and we had all of these high level tennis players signing on, right? We had I don't know if you signed a PPA contract. I haven't seen you at a ton of these tournaments,
No,
but
I did not. I did not. Yeah. I missed the boat there.
yeah, but I mean, we had Sam, we had Jeannie, we had Jack Sock,
Donald?
Donald Young.
Donald, right? Like, did you guys all talk about this at that point and say, "Hey, let's all go do this
Yeah, is
together"?
there like a
Or
cool kids
Yeah.
former pro group chat where you guys were chatting through all this stuff?
so the Nothing Major podcast?
Yeah, no, that's not it. Like actually was exactly a year ago when this was all going down. Because I
Right.
remember it was right before the US Open. And so it was definitely the last thing on my mind because it was like this was going to be my last ever tournament. So I was, of course, kind of focused on that a little bit. But yeah, like it was funny. I was involved with it all, like talking to Jack and talking to Sam, and they're like, "What am I gonna do? I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here." I mean, it was insane. There was like 72 hours, probably a little bit longer, of just pure craziness uh, going on. I was always a bit partial to the PPA, just friends in the group and whatnot, but that was a crazy, crazy time. And of course, I was not thinking about joining one way or the other because I'm not good enough. Just wasn't an interest of mine. I was focused on the tournament. But seeing like Jack and Sam and DY be a part of that, I thought it was like it brought me into the circle a little bit, and I was very much like enjoying seeing it all going down. It was just a wild, wild time. It almost didn't seem real.
Mhm.
It was the Kansas City event last year where everything
Yep.
started really fall apart for the PPA and the MLP. It was interesting to see.
For sure. If you would have told me that a year later I'd be sitting at the podcast wearing a PPA shirt, I would have said, "You're smoking meth."
Yeah, there you go. But look, it's good that there's some continuity in the game because that's what the pro game needs. You do not like pro pickleball probably can't survive these different factions going on. So look, I think that's a good thing that we got this. You guys got this together. The merge, and you got your PPA events, you have your fun MLP events. So they're both a lot of fun. They're different, which I think is great. But having it under one umbrella is a very good thing.
Yeah. So during all of this, right, the big change was going from appearance fees and prize money to basically a salary.
Mm-hmm.
How strange of a concept was that for a bunch of these tennis guys who are used to
Totally.
eat what you kill, basically?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what tennis is. And then you bring in like another almost individual racket sport, pickleball, and you made it in to like a team sport. Like individual guys and tennis players are always sort of been jealous of the guys in the NFL, the NHL, whatever it may be, that get these 5-year guaranteed contracts. I mean, like, must be nice, right? Like, you got boom, guaranteed money no matter how you perform. That's what it's going to be. Tennis, of course, that's not the case. Like, you have to keep your ranking up to keep your endorsements, so forth and so on. You have to stay healthy to be able to keep your ranking up. There's a lot of stress and pressure that goes with that. But pickleball, did something different. Signed these contracts, wanted to get guys, on their tours. And I don't know, like, what do y'all think about that? I mean, I'm sure in a sense, must be like a sense of relief to have this guaranteed money. Maybe takes a little bit of the pressure off of the performance, but at the same time, you want to win. Like in tennis, when I would win a tournament and like boom, like make this amount of money, make this amount of like endorsements or bonuses or whatnot, like it felt really, really good because, as you said, you had to eat what you kill. So you can really be proud of yourself in the tennis world when you do really well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my opinion on it is I think we're almost kind of like the NBA at this point, where the NBA gets crapped on sometimes because there are these players that sign their
Yeah.
contracts and then get fat, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they just don't care,
Yeah.
right? So I think there are two types of players. There are the players who do not care whatsoever what they're getting paid, they just want to win. And then there's the players who are like, I got my paycheck, like, we're kind of coasting now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think there's a little bit of a change there, and it's, relatively easy to see who is, on one side or the other of that.
Yeah.
I mean, is there really a reason to believe that they're going to continue on with these salaries once the initial contracts expire? I mean, I think we've talked a lot about that kind of coming back down to earth. Those who are on salary might not make as much. Some who are on salary will not have salaries next year.
It's weird though, because I think I think what we should do if we're under a league as well as team format is, I think that salaries make sense for the league or for the team stuff, and then the other whatever percentage of the year should be eat what you kill. I think we're basically playing two different formats under one umbrella. Um, I think the team stuff should be like other team sports where you have a salary from your team.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So there's 1 year left on these contracts?
no, we're all through. I think most of us are through 2026.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, so you really are chilling.
Yeah, you're chilling for a couple years, but heck, like that's a good question. I mean, things could change. Who knows? Like, could be see some more drama in 2026. We'll see.
Mhm. So, are there other guys on the tennis pro tour that are, watching, following along, talking about pickleball? Or, I'm sure most of them are, focused on their day job, right? But like, are they looking at pickleball a little bit? Like, more people serious about potentially doing it post tennis?
I don't know. It's hard for me to say that right now because I can really only speak about the American players, and right now, like they're all super young. Like most of the players are under 30, at least the ones in the top 100 in the world. So it's not like I don't really see that right now. It could change in a few years as their careers wind down, but no, I mean certainly focused on tennis. You see some. There's a lot of players on the pickleball tour. I mean, you say like the Johnson twins. They played professional doubles, college tennis together, professional doubles, and didn't really make. You know, they weren't really getting themselves into grand slams playing doubles, and they went into pickleball and made a very very nice transition there. So on the lower rank side, like I can't really say because I don't really know those guys that well, and I can't. And on the higher rank side, like for sure they're not considering it at least right now.
Mhm.
Tennis is these guys are making a lot of money right now playing at the top of the game.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, so they're like, and I'm surprised this hasn't, maybe it has been on your podcast, kind of just the top. Like, I'm going to say some of these names who have transitioned or are playing pickleball regularly invested, right? So we've got McEnroe, we've got Roddick,
Mm-hmm.
James Blake was on this podcast. We've got Jack Sock tearing it up now, Sam Querrey, as you talked about. We've got yourself. There's a handful of others, but
Agassi, don't forget him.
Agassi's
He just
probably
signed a
right.
big
Yeah,
Yola deal.
he's an investor in DUPR. He just got signed by Yola. I think he was involved in some other businesses, but like, these guys are getting super ingrained into pickleball, and these are like legends of U.S. men's tennis.
Mm-hmm.
What is your reaction to all of that? Have you guys talked about that on your show yet?
We have not. We haven't brought up much pickleball stuff. I just think because mainly our audience is mostly tennis fans. I mean, there's certainly a lot of crossover there. We don't know exactly how much that is, but the pickleball content we've talked about has mostly been like making fun of Sam. So,
Evergreen.
we had Jeannie was nice enough to come on our podcast, and she's doing the pickleball thing. But again, we talk mostly tennis, but I think it's a good thing. Look, like pickleball isn't going anywhere. I'm not one of these tennis purists that really dislikes the sport. I actually quite like the sport. As I said earlier, tennis is the best in my opinion, of course, but there is a place for pickleball. So I think it's fine. I think it's great that McEnroe and Agassi are embracing the sport of pickleball. It can only be a good thing. I think for their brands, which they're thinking about, and for pickleball, as a whole. So seeing legends like that, like do the pickleball thing. Look, and let's face it, like pickleball is easier to pick up as you get older. It's much easier to play pickleball. It's maybe not, especially in doubles. It's less wear and tear on your body as getting out there and covering a full court in tennis. So it makes sense for these guys to do it. There's a market for them there. We don't need to go into the numbers how many people play pickleball, but it's a good thing for them. And I'm a small part of that. And whenever I can, help contribute to anything pickleball related, I will do that. But for me, first and foremost, is tennis. But I think there's definitely a place for both sports.
So you just signed with Selkirk. How does that come to be? How's that
Well, they
conversation?
were nice enough to like reach out to me. Like it wasn't on my, like it wasn't a plan of mine to like get signed by Selkirk. But like I think I was doing something on at the Nationals in Dallas where I live. Like I did the celebrity event, using that term very loosely on me, like with Scotty Scheffler and Dirk and Jason Kidd and like Luka Doncic was there. It was a kind of a really great event they put on, and I played with Selkirk because don't even know why. It was like the first paddle I picked up, and I kind of liked it. So I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll use it. And then Jack, my good buddy, signs with Selkirk, and they kind of reached out to me and said, let's try to work. And so we figured out something to do. It's I think it's kind of small potatoes, but it's really nice of them to reach out, and hopefully I can help move the needle for them a little bit. I'm going to try to help promote Jack's paddle as much as I can, and try to help the company. But they're really fun to work with.
Awesome. Yeah. It's, Jack has a signature paddle now, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Is there a signature paddle just going to be?
No, they brought that up. I don't know if they were just giving me lip service and being nice, but I'm like, you don't want that. That's not going to sell at all.
Yeah.
So let's not do that. I will use the Jack's paddle, the Amp Pro, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we've got a head event coming up Thursday. I don't know if they're framing it as tennis first pickleball, but it's tennis and pickleball. So
I
it's
saw that in New York. Yeah,
Novak, Sinner, Callie Joe Smith, the Bellamy kid, and John McEnroe. So we put that out there, and obviously we made the headline. Like we made it sound good, right? Where Novak's about to play pickleball before the U.S. Open. Comments weren't exactly welcoming of that idea.
Yeah. Well, did the Novak fans get on you, or is it just tennis fans in general?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There is, I mean, and every time we post about one of these tennis players getting into pickleball, I mean, the backlash is insane. We've had tennis accounts say that we've like done collaborative stuff with in the past. They'll say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. Like it pisses off our fans.
Yeah. I just think there's a lot of tennis purists out there that just have a real disdain for pickleball. I don't know what that comes from. It's always going to be that way. I mean, you see a lot of people on TV will talk about it. There's personalities out there that don't like it at all. We've talked about the ones that do like it, are embracing it, and I think that's great. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't think that's going to change either. And there's tennis purists out there that think pickleball, just they don't want to see it, they don't want to talk about it, whatever. We'll just let them be. And look, the crossover is good. You do something like this before the U.S. Open, it's good for everyone. It's all good. I think if people need to chill out, like I don't think pickleball is trying to take the place of tennis. I don't think pickleball can take the place of tennis on the global stage. That'll probably never happen. But there is a nice little spot for pickleball for sure to be carved out in the racket sports world, and that's what you guys are doing. You're doing a great thing with it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the tennis purists are dug in at this point, and
Super dug
like,
in. They're in
I
their
don't,
trenches. Like they're not budging.
I think anybody who sort of was on the fence has sort of picked a side at this point. But I think that pickleball players, I don't think just as a community, it doesn't seem like we have aspirations to be the racket sport of the world, right? Like we're just kind of happy to be here.
No, you're happy to be, and that's what I think. Like, I think it's great. Like, and as I talked about the pro game, you guys are doing awesome things out there. You're making a great living, playing a sport, traveling the country, playing a sport, traveling the world here soon. Playing a sport, providing for yourself, providing for your families. Like, what's not to respect about that? Like, that's my opinion. I think it's fantastic.
For sure.
Let's. I think we gotta ask you this as somebody who's a prolific server in tennis. The topic of conversation lately, we alluded to it earlier, is that they're trying to, or at least they're trying to, they're testing different ways to de-weaponize the serve. As somebody who used the serve as a weapon, it was a big part of your game. Like, what do you think about that? And knowing that Zane at one point was using the
Yeah,
weaponization of the
the
serve to
spin
his
serve.
advantage as well.
I was the Isner of pickleball.
You guys had that in common.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to try to return that one time, Zane, because I
We'll
don't
make it
I know
happen.
I know I couldn't. Um, no, I just seems a little silly because once you're opening a can of worms there. They've already done a lot of stuff with the serve, like keeping it below the hip, and the toss has to start from the hip level or whatever it is. Like I don't like that, but I get it. Like if maybe they find it more attractive to watch, it's something to consider. But like it's a part of the game. You got a good serve, something you work on. I'm sure you guys work on just as much as you work on any other part of any other part of your game. So I don't think pickleball is broken right now. So I think it's in a good little spot. Doesn't need to be tinkered with, especially on the serve.
Tommy, what type of shoes are those?
I thought you'd never ask. So a few weeks back, you might have caught me rocking these Olakai Now shoes in the studio, as I am today. They're not just comfortable, they've got that slick streetwear vibe too. So let me just throw these up on a screen. That's why I've been wearing them around, not just on the court, but off the court. They've got a limited edition line that's turning heads. It's a really cool like pattern. We'll throw a picture of it up on the screen here so you guys can check it out. For the gents, we've got the green Kappa leaf print, bold, inspired by the vibrant island scenery. And for the ladies, a serene light blue, bright sky pie print that will turn heads. I like that, bright sky pie. These limited edition Now shoes are here for a good time, not a long time. Built for pickleball, but styled for your life off the court too. They offer the comfort, stability, and traction you need. Plus, every Olakai purchase supports Hawaiian nonprofits, so you're stepping up in style and making a difference. Visit the link in the description to try a pair for yourself.
Yeah. So obviously, like I think plenty of us are grinding, a decent amount. I have to make up for my lack of athleticism by playing a lot of pickleball, and I've been playing for a long time. But like, talking to Sam, talking to Jack, talking to Donald, like I think everybody's wondering, like, are these guys? Are they? I'm fairly certain they're not grinding the same way that they were, playing tennis,
Yeah,
right? Like, I think
yeah.
that's a safe assumption. Like, what do you think the practice schedule is like for some of these guys?
It's a good question. It's probably not as strenuous as when these guys were on the pro tour. I mean, I was practicing with all three of those. We would at tournaments, away from tournaments, at home. We would have training weeks together. Or, we'd be in Florida together, or whatever it may be, and pretty physical weeks to kind of get ready for what you had ahead on the ATP tour. Don't really see that that being the case right now. I mean, it's not. In my mind, it's not quite as physical, right? I mean, the singles game and pickleball is pretty physical, but I think it's just more just get out there, feel the ball around. Maybe not training as much off the court. It's just, but at the same time, like they're taking it pretty seriously. But I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a break from what they had for 10, 15 years on the pro tennis tour, which kind of beat them down. So
For sure.
I'm sure these guys are enjoying that because we really we put ourselves through a lot trying to get ready year after year on the tour.
I get the sense, and maybe I'm wrong. Like we're gonna play 3-4 times a week. Like go pretty hard while we do it. I don't get the sense that there's a ton of super focused drilling like there would have been in tennis. I don't get the sense that there's the
Yeah.
same amount of like fitness type of stuff. But
Yeah.
to be fair, there's not a ton of I think fitness stuff is just now becoming a priority among some of the pros
Yeah.
of pickleball. So my question is, if Jack Sock gives it 1 year of training in pickleball the exact same way, the exact same sort of focus and intensity that he did at his peak of tennis, where do you think he is a year from now?
Man, I think he's at the very top of the game. I think he's at, you'd put him in the top 5. And in my mind of like just pickleball players in general, in all disciplines, singles, doubles, mixed doubles, I think he could get there. What he can do on the court, I mean, he's like so dynamic. And for like a pretty big guy, he's not like a little dude. He moves around. He's so powerful. He was sort of like tailor-made for the sport of pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
How quick he can move in short bursts and like getting from point A to point B on the pickleball court is really, really impressive. And so he's like a human highlight reel out there. You see it all on Instagram all the time, the stuff he can do. But to answer your question, yeah, like I think he could be one of the best for sure. But at the same time, he might have, it's not a walk in the park. I mean, you guys are good and you guys take it really, really seriously. And I don't think he was thinking he was going to be the best, but as anyone coming from pro tennis would be naive to think that they're going to start dominating pickleball, because that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are very, very impressive.
What do you think it is about Jack? I mean, you hit on a couple of things that I think I've identified as well. He's very explosive, and I think
Yeah,
explosiveness is actually more important in pickleball than it potentially is in tennis.
I
Just
think it is for sure. The court's much smaller to get to be that explosive in that the short um, space you have to cover is extremely important. So I saw what he would do in singles and doubles on the pro tour, playing doubles with him, the stuff he could do on the court, like no one else could do. I could never even dream of doing it. And he does it on the pickleball court. He's a truly like a freak athlete. Like I've worked out with him in the gym. Lots and lots of times. Like I can't even come close to putting up the numbers that he can do, like on the assault bike or pushing a sled around. I mean, he would lap me by the time, and I was like decent at it. Like I was a pretty strong guy. I got long. I'm not fast, right? But I got like a long stride and all this stuff. And like Jack is just, he's got this gift, and he's just really talented. He's got this fast wrist, his fast shoulder. And he's crazy athletic. It's fun to watch him play pickleball for sure. And he will continue to get better as well, because it's still very, very new to him.
so what other current tennis players do you think sort of fit that mold of these are the couple people that come to mind who are current or former tennis players that I think their game would translate really well?
Now, are these guys that guys that I think would make the transition, or just guys in
Mm-mm.
general? Oh, all right.
Doesn't matter if
Carlos
they ever
Alcaraz.
pick up a
Carlos Alcaraz is at the top of the list. I mean, he's
okay.
ridiculous. I mean, he's even way more ridiculous than Jack. I mean, what he can do is absurd. If he wanted to put time into pickleball, he's not going to. But if he wanted to,
Hey, he's played before. We've
he
got
did. It
footage.
was in U.S. Open last year. Yeah, kind of dinking it around. Yeah, no, he would. I think he could potentially dominate if he wanted to. He could be an NFL wide receiver too if he wanted to. So that's not
Yeah,
like a
fair.
slight on pickleball at all. Like, that's just what he could do. Center, same thing. These great movers, to watch them do it on the pickleball court would be pretty cool. But I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
Interesting. What about, I mean, obviously, like Roger has all of the feel, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually somewhat bearish on Federer as a pickleball player because my thought process was he had more of the long flowing sort
Mm-hmm.
of technique rather than the short explosive technique that I think Jack Sock has.
Yeah,
Obviously, the guy would be absolutely incredible, but
yeah.
like, I think Jack Sock is better built for pickleball than Roger Federer.
Yeah, perhaps. Well, I think because Roger was so good at everything, like stuff that he was like incredibly good at would overshadow the stuff that he was really good at. And so like there's nothing he really couldn't do. Of course, on the tennis court, we know that. I disagree. I think I mean, his hands are just ridiculous. Like, yeah, he's not like, especially now at his age, he's not going to go out there and slide around the court. But like, I think getting into a little dink battle with Federer, like, good night. If he wanted to practice that a little bit, I think he'd be pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's what I think. I'm just, I'm always going to be bullish on him.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
I like it. I like discussion.
All right, John, you already guessed your own DUPR. You were off by modest, almost 3 points. No big deal there.
At least I underestimated myself. Didn't think I was like a 7 or something. So
Yeah. Want to play Guess My DUPR? We're going to pull up some clips of amateur play, and then we're going to go around the horn and guess the DUPR and see how close we get.
Yeah.
We can pull up my YouTube video and do a guess the UTR as well of me
There
playing.
you go. All right. That's a good point.
That's we got to do that, Thomas.
Okay, I was a 5'2" something, right?
Mhm.
Or I am a 5'2" something.
Yeah, you're like a 5. Yeah, right.
Okay. Okay.
But you only have that one score, which is when you and Wyatt played.
I know. I wish they would have counted. Like Jack and I beat Anna Lee and Jesse in Vegas a couple years ago.
Right. That was the bubbly thing, right?
Bubbly thing. Yeah, I'll take that to my grave. That was awesome.
Hey, you might be. Maybe you should be higher.
Yeah.
All right, Frank, want to cue up that first one? It'll have an arrow to the person we're supposed to watch. We'll watch it one time through. We can watch it again if we need to. Then we'll all go and give a rating.
Okay. Dink. Let's get some game.
It's getting ISO'd over there.
Yeah, I know, but
He's getting.
was that in or out? It looked like it was in. I mean, he was solid. That's like 5'3".
I'm going 4.6. We really overestimated last time.
No, he's like those guys are 4-1, 4-2.
4-1.
Okay.
Damn. What do we got?
He's gonna play it.
I didn't see much wrong with this. Whoa.
3.775.
Oh my God. I'm sick of this segment.
Mike, I didn't like. I mean, what was wrong with what he was doing there? His dinks were solid. Like, what did he do poorly there? He might have let a ball go. They thought, like, I think maybe that ball was in, but like, you need more of a sample size. I mean, those dinks look pretty good to me.
Yeah, but that's all it was. There was that was a tough clip because we didn't have much to judge.
Exactly.
I think I would have gone even lower, but you guys convinced me to go higher because you guys were so high. I would have probably been around the 3.7.
So here's the thing. I think we're only pulling from people who are pissed off about their DUPR being too low. I'm convinced about this right now.
I'm with Mike. He needs to be over a 4.
Agreed. Justice for Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Frank, let's do the next one. Also, Frank, I'm texting you a video of Zane's tennis right now, so we'll do that one after we do the pickleball points. All right, guy in the bucket hat.
Play big.
Let's see if he lives up to that.
Oh, we got slow-mo. Oh, no, it's just bad.
Oh. Did not like that backhand.
I didn't see it.
These guys are just keeping everything in.
Yeah, it's two-handed swinging back. Okay. If Mike's a 3.7 something, that dude is a 3.4.
No, that guy's he's definitely better than that first guy.
Really?
Yeah, he's probably like a 4.5, I would say.
I'm going 4.8, but I'm expecting it to be a 4.1.
Man,
what does that mean?
What did I say? 3. Okay.
You said a 3.4.
3.4. Okay.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So him and Mike are similar levels. Mike's better, which is what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
I'm also noticing that everyone here is way younger than me. All right.
This guy.
Here's a more accurate, like, see what they can do from the baseline.
That is important.
Totally.
Oh, tennis player for sure.
Yeah, he was a tennis. Look at that volley.
He might even be a padel player.
Didn't love that drive. That's a 3-4. I said I was close. It was 3-6. We fell from 3-7 to 3-6. I think we have a 3-4 coming up.
Here's the thing. Yeah, John, I think you're being conservative. I think. Well, actually, Zane, why don't you go ahead and rate him first? I want to hear what you have to say.
I think he's a 4.2, but now I think this guy is going to be like a 5.1 because I'm so lost in this game.
Yeah, no, this is hard. Those volleys, those like tennis volleys, like he's like chopping at the volleys. Like,
I bet he makes a bunch of balls though, right? Like, I think he's got the racket skills. He's going to
4.6. Yeah, all right.
What did you guess? 4.2.
I don't even remember.
I guess 3-4.
The thing about the tennis players like that is they look very coordinated. Like their swing mechanics make them look better than they are.
Yeah.
In this case, I think 4.6 is probably what he looked like. But a lot of these tennis players will play tennis at the wrong moments, and so they look pretty strong. If you watch them in warm-ups, you might overestimate them, and then you play them. When it comes down to it, the fundamentals, they end up coming in a little lower than what you would have expected. But in this case, I feel like it's pretty on.
Some of my favorite shit talk was playing against Travis and Colin last year with Matt Wright at MLP, and Matt just talking shit about Travis's tennis volleys. He says, keep driving it there. He's got tennis volleys.
Yeah.
Tennis volleys. And Travis remembers that to this day. Every time he plays against Matt, he's like, you like that tennis volley?
That's good. Yeah. Matt can like low key talk a lot of shit, can't he?
Oh, he's a great shit talker. Yeah. He's very creative.
Yeah, no,
he's just like not that like he doesn't have like a social media presence, does he?
Yeah.
So you don't really see it, but you get on the court, I've noticed that.
Next one.
Okay. Oh, come on.
Lob volley.
Okay.
There's a little technique there.
I mean, that's a 3-0.
Yeah.
3-0.
I'm gonna go with
like wild swings.
Frank,
I just don't like the shot selection.
Play that one again.
There's some very sus shot selection.
Totally. Like that one. It wasn't a horrible lob.
He's fighting these off. He's making balls.
Yeah, that was tidy, but I'm going 3-0.
Then he hits us with like the good backhand.
The good form on the backhand. The forehands were horrendous. But like
what did I say? I think I'm going 3.4.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm sticking with my 3-0 though.
He's a 4-1.
What? He is not beating our boy Mike. There's no way. Give me Mike Zimmer over Christopher. I'm sorry, Christopher.
Basically a 4.
He's a 4. Yeah. Man, I'd like to see that matchup.
Let's get this.
Yeah.
All right, Frank, throw up. Did I text it to you? Let's throw up. All right, this is the last one. Then we'll do clip of Zane. I feel like I recognize the person on the right
here. You better show some hands. I don't think he's gonna be moving around the court like Jack. Okay. Oh, that's smooth.
Is that Jason? That is Jason.
Oh, nice shank there. Golly. Our boy Christopher was a 4-0, 3.997. That was a 3.6.
I'm gonna go 3.8.
I'm going with John.
Yeah. 3.6. It was smooth. Okay.
3.4.
Yeah.
Jason Flam.
I like
writer,
Jason's game. It was smooth. Absolutely.
writer for the Dink. He's one of our
Okay.
main writers over here.
Fantastic.
Okay, cool. So let's pull up a little Zane clip here.
I want to see this. So this is how long ago was this?
This was probably 3 years ago.
Okay.
I think I've picked up a tennis racket once since then. I love
Do
tennis.
you have a UTR?
I did at one point. I have no
Yeah.
idea what it actually was.
Yeah.
It also was kind of changing at the point where I was playing. Like I feel like there was a big shift when because I was in college from 2014 through 2018, and I feel like they made a big change in the algorithm at that point, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Okay, I've never seen this before.
It's great.
You get the blue bab. It's really windy out there. Okay, the backhand looked good. The result was horrible.
Are you
What's
messing
going on,
around?
dude?
Are you trolling?
No.
Seriously, dude, come on. This has got to be a troll.
Yeah, what?
Dude, you've missed every ball. There
It
you
was
go.
a low light.
Okay. That's a nice backhand.
I had to throw in one good shot.
Holy shit, dude. Dang, this is it does sound windy, I'll give you that, but I've seen 18 shots and 2 have been made. It's just like Jake. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like, okay, so Djokovic is like a 16, like legendary level. Zane, dude, you're like, that's like a 4. I mean, that was some really bad stuff. Like, certainly were low lights. I mean, it started off with the shank off of a fed ball.
I think at my peak, I think I was over a 10, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, at that point, I was probably a 4.
Yeah.
Wait, really? So I guess that makes sense if you sort of. I'm thinking about like the disparity between a top pickleball player and. I mean, there's no like college pickleball players, right? So this is a
Not
tough
really.
like. It's tough
Yeah.
to draw the comparison, but you're saying that you would be just like at your peak as a college tennis player, you were just over 10, and Djokovic is like a 16.
Yeah, which means he would murder me left-handed
Right.
with his
Yeah.
eyes
That's
closed.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was a stark difference between Novak's level and Zane's right there.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good thing you found pickleball, dude.
Thanks.
But look, you play in a lineup of a in college tennis. Like, you're a good player. I mean, there's different levels to everything. But you've seemed to have lost that touch a little bit.
We had a lot of fun playing tennis. That's is what it is.
Right.
All right, we'll cut you loose, but I got a couple questions from your buddies. I asked Donald Young this weekend. I asked Wes Burrows. I asked Jack. I asked Query for some fun questions for you.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I heard Query tried to kill one of your dogs.
Oh, dude, he really did. Like, it's like this brown dog. She is like the greatest dog ever, and she's this little old thing. And Sam was staying at my house, which was a bad idea with his 2 kids and all my kids. There's the Dallas tennis tournament, which is coincidental, not anymore, but it was right at SMU, which was right beside my house. And I forget what the circumstance was, but like me and my wife and our kids were gone for like a few hours, and Sam and Abby and their kids were just at our house or whatever. And like, so it's like, okay, just look after our dogs. And like, it turns out like our little brown dog like almost choked on a chicken bone, because like Sam was like, she has no teeth. And like Sam had to like pull this chicken bone out. Like, so he like, I think like he did try to. Sam's soulless, dude. I said this on our podcast. Like, he has no heart, like nothing. Like, they have a dog. It's Ruby, this little black chocolate lab. But if that dog passed away like today, like, he would not shed a single tear, not lose an ounce of sleep. Like, business as usual. He's going on to whatever he has planned 30 minutes later. Like nothing ever happened. I don't think he was the biggest fan of our little brown dog, and he tried to take her out, but she survived. She's got like 9 lives.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Next question was, I heard you had a little fantasy football mishap last year. Are you betting the house on DeAndre Swift again this year?
Oh, dude, who told you that?
Wes.
How did he remember? He's not even in our league. Yeah, we do an auction fantasy football and doing it. And DeAndre Swift comes up. He was like a $10 player, maybe his $13 player. And I did want him. Like, okay, I wanted Swift, blah, blah, blah. And my son was with me. He was kind of like hanging on my shoulder. And so, the bidding starts at $1. I'm like, I just wanted to pump it up to 10 right away so we don't have to go through the whole process. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I somehow hit 47. So I bid 47 on Swift, and it gave me him automatically because no one's like, I don't know. And then boom. So I spent 25% of my salary on Swift, and it ruined me for the whole year. My year was over in the draft. It was horrible.
My
We're having our draft in about a week too, so I need to totally redeem myself. And I know my son's not going to be around me. So
There we go.
yeah.
They want to know if you're still best buddies with Ben Roethlisberger.
I don't. Ben's he's a tennis writer, and he's got like a big following. I don't mind Ben. We have a lot of differing views on all sorts of topics, but to each their own. Like I respect his, and that's it. But he's drawing the ire of some tennis players for sure. But it's all good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Last one. D Young wants to know if you still love Hannah Montana as much as you once did when you guys were sharing hotel rooms.
Yeah, that's it wasn't Hannah Montana. It was like Query 2 was in on this. Like it was like we thought like Miley Cyrus, like when she was kind of like, like not anymore, of course, but we liked her music, we like Party in the USA, and like, so we were fans of her and her music especially, and that's kind of where it stopped. But it was not Hannah Montana. I want to put that out there because I'd never even seen that show, but we liked Miley Cyrus's music.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, we know what the title of the episode is going to be.
Yes.
Party in the USA with John Isner.
That's it.
Cool. All right. John, thanks
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks for coming on, hanging out with us.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you guys. Sorry I had to bump it a few hours. So, okay. No.
No problem whatsoever. Guys, make sure to go check out the Nothing Major podcast. Really, really interesting. I listened to the first one with it's you, it's Stevie Johnson, Sam Query, and Jack Sock, and it's a fun group. They have a good dynamic. Yeah, we've gotten like it's been a lot of fun. I don't think we're going to get rich off of it or anything like that, but it's like we're good buddies. We're all in different places, and we get to talk about tennis a little bit. Like we're enjoying it. Like the podcast world is very fun. We're just starting out, and we're enjoying it. Awesome. Check it out. All right. I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks, John. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you. Okay. All right. Good luck. Best of luck, y'all. Take it easy. Should do a couple of our other topics. Yeah. I mean, I need you to, everybody's going to want to get your take on the surf stuff. I mean, you published an article today. So just give us the spiel. Yeah. So, I mean, I published another article. I like to write. And essentially, if we're going to make a rules change, I think you need to have a problem, a pretty well-defined problem, or something that we're trying to improve. The way that I see it, there are two problems or areas for improvement. The first one is that the serve is too big of a weapon in pickleball. There's zero data to support this. Major League Pickleball is the place where that would be the largest contrast. In Major League Pickleball in 2024, you're allowed to make contact with the ball as high as you want. There is no contact height requirement. So if serves were really a problem, you would think that they would be the biggest problem in Major League Pickleball, right? And we have tons of data for this. In 2023, servers were winning, I believe it was about 42.6% of points. I'm sorry. In 2023, serving team won 42.65% of points. And Ben from Real Clear Stats had about 35,000 rallies. Guess what the percentage is in 2024 so far?
I mean, I think I've already seen the statistic on this one, but it's like pretty unbelievable how close they are.
It is almost identical. Of the 23,000 rallies statted so far, we have 42.64% of service points won. And that's even after we have a full year of data with USA Pickleball serve rules, and we have 2/3 of a year of data under these new rules with no contact height requirement, and the servers are not winning more points. So does the serve have too much impact? The data doesn't suggest that, but maybe fans think that the serve has too much of an impact. Well, I polled the fans, my fans at least. There is definitely some polling bias here.
No bias at all.
100% there's polling bias, but go take a look at it for yourself. Try it yourself, right? I encourage anybody else. I don't want to be the only source of data for this. 90% of my ex-followers answered that the serve is not too much of a problem in pickleball. So the idea that serves have too much impact, I don't think there's any credible there's nothing other than anecdotal evidence for this of somebody got hot on their serve and blew us off the court. Nothing but anecdotal evidence for this. Problem number 2 is that the serve rules are unenforceable. This is a problem. This is 100% accurate. You cannot enforce the 3 elements of USA Pickleball rules. So solution number 1 that's been thrown around recently is adding a service box 4 feet within the court. This once again does nothing to actually make the serve more enforceable. It changes nothing about the contact height. It changes nothing about the swing path, and it changes nothing about the paddle position. So it doesn't address the actual problem that we have in enforceability. And also, none of these things are taken in a vacuum. Let's say we do implement the service box rule, right? We have to serve shorter. Is that the end of it? No. What happens when I hit an easy serve to Federico Staxrud or somebody? They hit a better return. And I would think that our percentage of points won on serve would go down dramatically. It would make it much more difficult for the serving team to get to the kitchen, right? I think if we're at 42.6% of points won on serve right now, I think this rule would push it down into the 30s and potentially as low as 33% of points won on serve. That's my hypothesis. Mm-hmm. So it would throw the game out of what seems to be a pretty good balance.
No, the data from Real Clear Stats, is that Major League Pickleball data?
That's MLP data.
Okay.
Yep. So there's plenty of other arguments out there about spacing, about looks, about
going back to the question for you. In Major League Pickleball, are you dialing back your serve at all because it's rally scoring and you don't want to lose points on the serve, so you're a little more conservative?
None whatsoever. If you're playing pickleball correctly between Major League Pickleball and PPA, even if you do not technically lose a point in PPA, but you lose an opportunity to score, which are almost equivalent. So yes, a point goes on the scoreboard for your opponents in Major League Pickleball if you miss a serve, but in PPA you have essentially the same effect. A point doesn't go on the scoreboard, but you've lost an opportunity to add to your score. There are some nuances, there are some actual differences, but the best way to think about the difference between rally scoring and traditional scoring is to consider them essentially the same. If you think about it too much, it's generally going to not be good for your game. So solution number 2 that's being not thrown around at all by anybody really other than me, I think, is the drop serve. The drop serve solves the actual enforceability issue, right? All a referee would need to police is whether you are dropping the ball instead of propelling it downwards or throwing it upwards. All they have to look at is your hand at the point of release. It does not matter what direction you swing at the ball. It doesn't matter where your wrist position is. When you use a drop serve, you cannot possibly make contact above your waist. The ball doesn't bounce up that high. There's only one thing for a referee to enforce, and it's pretty easily enforceable. And it has the side effect of potentially nerfing the serve a little bit, right? Like generally on a serve under USAP rules, I'm making contact around my belly button. Under the drop serve, it's never really going to bounce up much past my thigh. So a lower contact point is going to mean that we can't hit it quite as hard because you have to get it to go up over the net and back down. So the main hesitation behind the drop serve seems to be that it looks stupid. I disagree. I think it looks fine in padel, Europe's fastest growing sport. Padel has far better viewership than we do in Europe. It's at a more advanced stage than pickleball is right now in terms of the professional game, and they use the drop serve. And go watch padel; it doesn't look dumb when they do it. Also, I filmed myself hitting a drop serve. I don't think it looks dumb. And then finally, is the drop serve dumber than the alternative of having to feed your opponent a ball that's within 4 feet of the baseline? And if we're doing that, we're literally just like hand feeding them. I think that looks dumb. So in summary, the data doesn't suggest that servers are winning a disproportionate amount of points. The fans don't think so. If we want a serve rule that's enforceable, the drop serve is the obvious solution. And if we're not ready to implement the drop serve, my suggestion would be to enable referees to more strictly enforce the current serve rules, and for pro pickleball players to grow a pair.
Nice. Yeah, you actually deliver that very well. I have some thoughts for
Love
you.
it. Let's debate. I want to debate anybody about this. I'm ready.
Well, I wasn't going to debate, so maybe I can position it that way, just make it a little more fun. But I do, so just on the end of that, I just had a thought. Like, basically, if refs were going to enforce the serve rules currently more adamantly, you're basically saying they just need to use their judgment and grow a pair and actually make the calls. Kind of like, I mean, I would liken that to essentially an umpire in baseball, where it's like, yeah, sometimes the call is wrong, but that's part of the game. The ump makes the call. You live with it.
Yeah. So I was saying that the players need to grow a pair and stop complaining about serves. So there's different standards within refereeing. Currently, they use a standard that says you need to be 100% certain that a serve is illegal to call it. And what my suggestion would be you don't have to be 100% certain. You have to be more certain than not. So it's some lawyerly type of shit, but if a referee thinks it's illegal, they should be empowered to call it. And I think, there's going to need to be, I think, a lot of film watched with the referees. I think there's going to be need to be a lot of, maybe tests on that so that we do have somewhat consistent refereeing between refs. But I think we need to change the standard from you need to be certain in order to call it a fault to you need to be more, it needs to be more likely than not to be a fault.
Okay. What is the general consensus? Obviously, we see data now that tells us one way or the other, but prior to having looked at any data, what's a general consensus on whether the serving team has an advantage or does not?
I think people are making the argument that that servers are at an advantage right now, particularly in singles. I don't think we have evidence to support that. I think that's anecdotal evidence of somebody got hot against you in a singles match or in a doubles match, and you missed a few returns. But statistically, in the stats that we do have, it's not showing.
Yeah, you're at a disadvantage if you're serving.
Correct.
According to these statistics. I would like to see stats on PPA and see if there's any difference. And then maybe we could try and figure out why is there a difference if there is one.
Yeah, I think something that would factor in is the stacking, right? In Major League Pickleball, you don't need to stack, and in PPA, you can get into a bit of a rhythm. In MLP, regardless of what happens, you're serving, you know, about a quarter of the time, probably in a close match. If you guys get on a roll, you're serving 50% of the time. I think you can get in a better rhythm in PPA. You can get you can catch people on the stack. So I would imagine there would be some difference there. What that difference is, I don't know.
Yeah. I agree with your point that implementing service lines would look just as dumb, if not dumber, than the drop serve. So if optics are the issue at question here, that is not the solution. Replacing something that looks dumb with something that looks dumb solves nothing.
Something that looks dumber.
Debatable. It's subjective.
Wait, so you've heard this though, right? That the drop serve looks dumb.
It does. I mean, in my opinion, it does kind of look. Yeah, like it. Dumb might not be. It just makes the sport look
Less professional,
less
or?
serious.
Yeah, like what do you base that off of? Like why? How do you? What's the reason for that?
I don't know.
Opinion?
Okay, so let's just take 10 random people off the street. We'll show them a clip of a normal serve and then a clip of a drop serve, and we just be like, which one looks more serious? Like, why would the study ever be done? It wouldn't. But
It's
I
not a bad
think
idea.
9 out of 10 of them would say that a normal serve looks more serious than a drop serve. Like, I just think it looks juveniles on like junior varsity. It's like you're nerfing the game.
I suppose. Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I would actually be very curious to know what the general public thinks of that. I think the thing that I thought looked really good about the drop serve that I hit, I posted it on my Twitter or X. You can drop it and then step into the ball and crank it.
Yeah.
You can't really. I mean, you can step into a serve. It's an out of the air serve. It's a little less easy. Most people don't. So I would actually be very curious to see like what general public thinks of that.
Yeah. I think it is worth pointing out that in the USA Pickleball Handbook, it does state that the purpose of the serve is simply to get the ball in play. And I think that's just context that people should consider when thinking about what's the right move here.
That was only in the rule book after they banned the chainsaw. They added that language.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Well, you got in your own way again.
I know. I think I should just take the opposite stance on anything serves, and I have a bad track record with this, even though I seem to be the only person that wants to use data to formulate any of these arguments.
Okay, so my biggest question for you then is, what's the real reason they're making these changes? What's the real reason they're trying to de-weaponize the serve? And is saying de-weaponize a way to almost position it so that people think that's what they're trying to accomplish when really there's some sort of ulterior motive?
So I think there's a couple of things. I think there's pros complaining, which is fair. We're all self-interested, right? Like if you don't have a good serve, you should advocate for nerfing the serve. If you do have a good serve, you should advocate for allowing, more freedom on the serve, right? I think a majority of players would fall into a category of, below average serves, or just not doing anything special with the serves. And then there's a few players who are really going after it. Tyson, Deckel, Fed, or me. Ben's hitting it quite hard now. The Kwong. If you, I've said it's like the wolves and the sheep voting on what's for dinner, right? If you don't have a strong serve, I think and you're in the majority, it's not a bad idea to try and regulate it or diminish it a little bit. So I think that there are a lot of complaints about the serve among players. I think a lot of us are frustrated. I think people are most frustrated when somebody is serving from high and they have a good serve, right? Like playing against Deckel or Tyson. They get hot on the serve and it's hard to enforce. I think that's irritating. I agree. I think some of the logic is we might have more kitchen rallies if the serve is just a get the ball into the court. I think we would have less. I think fourth shots have gotten so good over the last year or so, given the powerful paddles and how much spin these pedals are creating. It's harder than ever to get to the kitchen on just a normal third shot drop. So I think there might be some behind the scenes, hey, we want more kitchen rallies, but I think that is, I think we actually have it backwards there. I think if you nerf the serve, it's more difficult to get a kitchen rally.
I would just like them to just be transparent about what they're trying to do. Like, it's okay if they're saying, hey, we're trying to make this a more TV ready product. Like, that's okay. I think people would be more receptive to that. But when I hear that they're trying to de-weaponize the serve, and I do believe that I saw either the PPA or pickleball.com put out a social post. It was like a graphic, and it was like a bunch of options on how to de-weaponize the serve, right? And so now that's like the phrase everybody's using. And my reaction to that is, the serve is weaponized. It's over weaponized right now. Like, I don't think that's an issue, and I didn't think it was an issue. Now all of a sudden we're trying to solve this issue that I think a lot of people didn't even realize was the thing at all.
Yeah, I mean, I would say to de-weaponize, regardless of what you make the serves, the players are going to, within the rules, make that as much of a weapon as they possibly can. You can change rules, but I would ask anybody, any of our listeners, what is one portion of any professional sport that isn't weaponized to its fullest extent within the rules? What's one? What's one where there's just are we doing a courtesy serve in tennis? Like, within the rules, you're going to do everything that you possibly can. I think that, there's some people saying that the PPA post was just capitalizing on some of the buzz surrounding the serve. I can't really speak to that. But if that's the case, they got to pay their social media person a little bonus.
Yeah, I think the part of the issue is just like, I don't know, trying to manipulate the perception versus just being transparent about what you're trying to accomplish. Adding service lines is a drastic change. That's a drastic change. It's way more drastic than deciding between drop serve or regular serve.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay.
So I'll be very curious to see what actually comes of this. But yeah, who knows? We might have some new service rules next week. But should we talk through Bristol results real quick?
If you want to, I wanted to talk about something else.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go. We let's get to PPA Bristol results at some point, because there's some good stuff. But what do you want to talk about?
Okay. I think there's one thing that I think is going to come out and will be out by next week that we can talk through more in depth, but it seems to be like it's going to be the biggest story for a while, probably. And it all has to do with paddles and different paddle manufacturers. In line with that is this whole thing that Onix is involved in. Have you seen this?
Yeah, the lawsuit?
Yes. Onix has, and this is a public lawsuit, but they've gone after the brand Pickle, PCKL, over patent infringement having to do with thermoform technology. They put an Instagram post out that they have patented thermofused technology. I don't know what the difference is between that and thermoformed, but they've gone after PCKL. We saw that they had filed for this patent in 2021. It was granted in 2023, and they've started to go after PCKL and a few other brands, claiming that they're infringing on their patents using whether it is thermoformed or a component of thermoform technology. And I think it's one of the biggest stories that people aren't really talking about. If Onix is able to prove that they do have a patent on thermoform technology, I don't know how broad it's going to be. What's to stop them from going after any paddle brand that has thermoformed paddles, and what are the implications of that if they just keep winning these cases?
Yeah, we'll have to have Matt Wright on the podcast sometime soon. He's with Onix and he's a lawyer. So, I think it's interesting. This is obviously not my area of expertise, but it seems like if they're able to win a lawsuit against, and I don't know where this is in the process, but if they're able to win the lawsuit against PCKL, you could think that might give them some momentum and or at least be able to scare some of these other paddle brands. And I'd assume that they would sort of take it broader. It is interesting because it seems like Onix is checked out of pickleball, to be quite honest. They haven't really been, after acquiring Dura, they haven't really been, they haven't really been spending a ton. They have Matt and Lucy as their main players, and I think they've kind of got rid of everybody else. It seemed like they were kind of on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see where this ends up. I think, by the time all of this stuff happens, thermoforming might not even be relevant anymore. And thermoforming is important now because it can give you more power. But if we do actually end up going to a exit velocity test, it doesn't matter how you get from point A to point B, as long as you aren't over exit velocity numbers. So people could be putting in foam in their paddles. So it seems like there's a very limited window for this lawsuit. But at least at the pro level, and then there's obviously USA Pickleball considerations. I'm just really curious to see how this ends up because I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. One way, you said that you felt like Onix maybe fell off a little bit. Well, one way to make a comeback is just take out your opponents.
Yeah, there you go. Win some money in lawsuits.
Yeah. We have some people digging into it right now. So, I had just heard about it a couple hours before we jumped on this recording. So I don't have a ton of information, but I imagine we'll have a lot more next week. But
Oh yeah,
interesting nonetheless.
Paddles are wild again these days.
Yeah, well, as I already alluded to, that's not going to be the biggest story when it comes to the state of paddles. Seems like pickleball is getting quite litigious.
I'm here for it. As long as nobody sues me.
Yeah. Right. Okay. You got anything else?
Yeah, we got to talk through Bristol real quick.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We had some fun results. Kwang Dong got his first gold with Christian.
Yeah, you reminded me.
Beat Ben and Colin in 3 games. There's some big upsets out there. Michael Lloyd and Todd Fote beat Dylan and J-Dub in a upset that nobody saw coming. And then Scarpa and Dow beat Tyson and Jaume and absolutely smacked them. It was like 2 and 3 or something like that, which was super surprising. Ben back to singles. He beat Fed. I don't think he's played a singles tournament since San Clemente. He was the number 2 seed, which is I believe he's the number 2 seed, and I think him and Colin were the number 2 seed as well. So, yeah, Fed Fed beats everybody except Ben seems to have his number.
Yeah. What do you make of Kwang Dong? So we tweeted, is Kwang Dong the future of pickleball? What % do you think said, in Kwang we trust?
What were the other options?
Nah. And who's that?
I think 5% of people said, who's that? Thinking that they'd be funny. I think, is Kwang Dong the future? What was the other one?
It's either yes or no.
Yes or no?
It's just in Kwang we trust or nah.
I think 33% said nah. I think the rest said yes. So what would that be, like 50, 60%?
Yeah, so 47.9% said in Kwang we trust, 42.7% nah. 9.4%. Who's that? And like when you pull your audience, when we pull ours, there's obviously going to be a little bit of bias. So I'd be interested to see what a more broader selection of people would have voted. But I don't know. What do you think? I did see one clip of Alshon and Kwong just ripping the ball, and whoever was the commentator said this is new pickleball, and I just thought that was interesting. Like, is that new pickleball? Like with these new styles of play, the paddle tech, are we moving to a place where, yeah, you can be mid-court running in and you're still going to rip a hard drive and it's going to be attack, high power pickleball, and that's the way the game is moving? Or do you feel like that's I'm getting ahead of myself here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the game is definitely like very aggressive, and for Kwong, I mean, I just think that he's a smart player. His dad is very smart, and they are, when I'm at a tournament, they're the first ones there, and they're getting practice sessions in before matches, before like long days too. Like the guy is just grinding. So I think there's a lot that you can do with some of these paddles. I think Kwong and Christian definitely are pretty far on the aggression end of the spectrum to begin with. And then playing against Ben and Colin, that's essentially their kryptonite. That's the type of game style that they like the least. So they
Right.
probably ratcheted it up even more. I think if they were playing against JW and Dylan, they would still be very aggressive, but that sort of play style wouldn't work quite as well.
Right.
But I'm buying Kwong stock and Christian stock.
Yeah, I just think there's something to be said for the work ethic. It's very clear this guy's putting a ton of hours in off the court, thinking a lot about strategy, technique, and yeah, I mean, it sounds like his dad basically is like full time. Let's make Kwong the best player in the world. So, I think that is we're seeing the results of that
for sure. Although he did just get double pickled by Fed, which is absolutely wild. Like,
yeah,
it's
what?
insanity because Kwong has got to be one of the best scorers in pickleball. He's got an enormous serve, enormous passes. It's so hard to put a volley away against him because he's probably the foot speed, one of the quickest on tour, if not the quickest. Like, absolutely wild.
Did he throw in the towel? He doesn't strike me as a player who would ever throw in the towel.
No.
This is just like a straight up like pure beatdown.
It was straight up pure beatdown. Fed was on fire.
Insane.
Kwong didn't play like horrible. I'm sure he missed more balls than he normally does, but yeah, I mean, Fed was absolutely insane. Also, the courts there, I think, really favor Fed's style over Kwong's. Fed takes the ball on the rise. He takes it very early, and the courts in Bristol, they actually forgot to put a layer of paint in, and they were brand new. So there was no sand in the court. These were like, imagine a tennis court and imagine an ice rink, and combined the two of them, and you have these courts. This was somewhere like halfway between a tennis court surface and a ice rink surface. They were unbelievably slick. And so I do think that, fed into, no pun intended, Fed's game.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, hopefully we can get him on the pod soon. Kwong, that is. And then anything else? Anything else you want to touch on Bristol?
Let's see. Brooke Buckner, back-to-back champs. Pretty cool. AL Dub was out due to an injury, but she looked okay in mixed and women's. Absolutely dominant in women's. Opponents averaged 3.6 points against them in over the weekend. So yeah, looked like she was okay. Just tweak something. It's not worth it for her to. If anything feels off, not worth it. We wrap.
We are gonna wrap.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun